So we started working on reimagining USMCA. Like I said, USMCA as it exists right now, it's no more, right? I mean, and we started working on reimagining how USMCA 2.0 would work, right? So a trilateral framework for future integration. So what does that mean? First, I was a big advocate of saying in many of my keynotes and publications and so on, to try to leave the economic success of North America, to try to leave the security aspect out of it, right? I mean, we know and we understand the security issues, be it fentanyl, be it illegal immigration, be it illegal arms being crossed into Mexico. They're very important, and they're very important issues, and they deserve a seat at the table. But again, as we saw in the first slide, 30 years of integration, what it has produced. My idea is don't mess with something that has been working. I mean, try to figure out the security issues by other means. That's not going to happen. I mean, security is going to be tied to international trade between North America for the foreseeable future, right? So in this framework of USMCA 2.0, the first thing is enhanced security cooperation. You have to bring it to the table. You have to bring it to the review of the USMCA. You have to address the fentanyl crisis, weapons trafficking, border security, illegal immigration, and so on. That has to be brought to the table, right? We also need a trilateral industrial policy. When NAFTA started, again, it was put together to make North America more competitive and less dependent on China and on Asia, right? And one of the things that was brought to the table when NAFTA began was a North American industrial policy, something that could give North America cohesion so that it could compete globally as one, right? NAFTA, we all saw the numbers of NAFTA. NAFTA grew so much, trade started growing, everything started going really well that people forgot about that part of the North American industrial policy. So we have to bring that back. We have to coordinate strategic sectors across North America. Going forward, it won't work that Mexico will have its own industrial policy, the US will have theirs, and Canada theirs. We have to have an industrial policy for the whole of North America. And technology has progressed like never before, right? I mean, we see that every month changes in technology are just amazing. Just the whole thing going on with AI, how fast it's advancing. So we have to bring that to the table. We have to be able to integrate AI, blockchain, IoT for secure and efficient cross-border trade. Next. So how do I see this? This is another white paper that I co-authored this one with an ex-ambassador of Mexico to the United States, Jerónimo Gutierrez, who I'm sure many of you have heard and know. So we really thought of how we can innovate institutions for this. Well, we thought it for a binational point of view because of Mexico and the United States, but how we could innovate the relationships, right? So we put together what we call the Binational Customs Agency. And this Binational Customs Agency, it's a unified approach to customs operations between the United States and Mexico. So what did we base this on? It's bringing CBP and ANAM, the Agencia Nacional de Aduanas de Mexico, bringing them together under one roof, right? So how do we envision this? Obviously, it's not going to be as easy as just saying, hey, you're going to merge and we're going to have something all of a sudden come out of it, right? So in our proposal, we proposed two different avenues for this. One of them taking into account the model for the International Water Boundary Treaty, SILA, the IBWC. That's a mechanism that's still binational, but each country has its different sections, right? And they come together, they produce minutes and things like that. So that could be the starting point for something like this at the binational agency, that each country have its own sections and come together for having joint minutes. The evolution to what we could get, or what we think we could get at, is another model, and it's the NADBANK model, the North American Development Bank model. That is truly a binational agency. That truly has binational employees. that has binational funding, and that is truly a binational agency, right? So those were our two models, and within it, we proposed 5 specialized divisions: a joint operations division, a technology and innovation division, revenue and compliance, professional development, infrastructure planning. Balanced governance structure respecting national sovereignty, which is so important in this relationship. Digital transformation and cybersecurity, implementing shared digital platforms with advanced communication protocols to eliminate I've written about this as well, something I call a digital wall. CBP systems and ANAM systems, they don't have a communication protocol to share information between them. So they're not connected. So forget about border walls and things like that. There's a digital divide between the United States and Mexico, and this is something that can bridge that, right? At least that's our proposal for it, right? Next. The next part of it, when I spoke about having a North American industrial policy, there's another proposal that I'm currently working on, and it's a second white paper. This framework for USMCA is going to be based on 3 white papers. The first one, the Binational Customs Agency. The second one would be the North American Industrial Coordination Council. So what we're proposing here is having a committee within a council within the USMCA. I know that there's the competitiveness committee within the USMCA. The thing with that is that it has very little private sector participation. So for this to work, we need a lot of private sector participation. So basically with this North American Industrial Coordination Council, we're proposing a permanent institutional framework to align industrial strategies across the US, Mexico, and Canada. The thing is to leverage the strengths of each country. Mexico, well, you can't just build a manufacturing base there for 30 years and expect it to disappear, right? So Mexico has a very strong manufacturing base and capability to it. The United States, innovation, research, development, smart manufacturing, those are the main points and the strong points of the United States. So let's focus on those. I'm not saying manufacturing can't come back to the United States. I'm just saying that it's a certain type of manufacturing that will work, and it's called smart manufacturing. And Canada has all the natural resources that the other countries lack and that the other countries need. So focusing on those 3 areas, putting together this North American industrial policy strategy, I think can help North America go forward and compete, again, as a whole, right? So we have different areas: strategic sector development, supply chain resilience, again, technology and innovation, workforce development, which we'll get into a little further, and regulatory harmonization, right? Everything having to do with classification and so on. So this, I think, can position North America as a cohesive economic powerhouse capable of competing effectively with other major industrial blocs. This council can make decisions for tariffs that Canada, the United States, and Mexico can all place together the same tariffs on other competing countries, but not within themselves. Next. So I just went through these right now. These are the complementary strategies that I just talked about: technology innovation for the US, manufacturing for Mexico, critical minerals for Canada. Next. So how can we implement this? Well, this is the third paper, and the third paper is based on digital infrastructure. So we have the Binational Customs Agency as an institutional innovation that can work on producing more security, more efficiency for the United States-Mexico border. That can certainly grow to Canada as well. The relationship that CBP has with their Canadian counterparts can also be included in this. The second one was the North American Industrial Policy Council, and the third one is digital infrastructure. So again, there's current vulnerabilities that disrupt trade. How many times does the Mexican aduana systems not fall, right? That all of a sudden, se cayó el sistema. I would say more than once a week. So I can't, it's unfathomable that at this day and age that still happens. And what happens when it's chaos? Nothing goes through, right? In Laredo, it's miles. Imagine in Laredo, we're having days more often every day now of 20,000 trucks crossing a day. So that's 10,000 trucks that are trying to get from the United States to Mexico when the system falls. So imagine what 10,000 trucks put together represent, right? Because sometimes it falls for hours, but other times it falls for the whole day. So we can't have that anymore. So that's why we need this digital infrastructure, right? We need to take advantage of blockchain. I mean, and I know CBP is doing some pilot projects with what they call verifiable trusted certificates, which is another fancy name for blockchain. But just to be able to give governments and companies and so on so much visibility on what's going on, real-time risk assessment, automated documentation, integrated tracking systems. I mean, everything that comes on a ship, any container that comes on a ship has all of these sensors, IoT sensors that you can manage for weight, you can manage for temperature, if it's open, if it's closed, if it moved around, if somebody touched it, and so on. Why can't we bring that to trucking, right? I mean, I know it's expensive, but I mean, we're gonna have to invest on it. I think investing on this is better than placing tariffs that are gonna have more damage on it, right? Next. I'm almost done. I'm at the last part of the presentation. So, okay, I mean, I guess we already saw what North America means. We already saw impacts on employment. We've seen proposals for what we could do. So we just saw the practical implementation frameworks for more integration. So what does that bring to North America? What would that look like, right? Next. So the workforce of tomorrow, I know COSTEP does a lot of work on workforce development. So how does the workforce of tomorrow work? Or how can you see it, right? Well, to start cross-border educational alliances. And I know that, I mean, I'm from a border, right? And I've worked at a border all my working life. So I know that there's a lot of alliances, and I know that there's a lot of institutions that have MOUs with Mexican counterparts and so on, convenios de colaboración and so on. So we live it at the border day by day. We just have to integrate that into a national framework where the entities of North America understand what a cross-border workforce really looks like, right? So we have to institutionalize those cross-border educational alliances. This, I've been hearing for years now, of creating a skills passport program, right? Something that can certify your skills, even if you got them in Mexico, in the US, or in Canada, that you can apply to each of the 3 countries and that you can work. That can solve workforce shortages that you have in each of the countries, right? And coordinated training to align educational curricula with emerging industrial needs, focused on advanced manufacturing, digital skills, to help the US form its smart manufacturing base that it needs. Next. Beyond tariffs, a continental vision. So how does this look like? Well, we need more into economic resilience, right? I think with the first graph that I showed you that I stressed the point of resilience, we see how North America is so resilient. Well, integration creates that resilience, right? Having these integrated supply chain within the economic bloc of North America gives this resilience, right? Strategic coordination with the North American Industrial Council, with the Financial Customs Agency, we will have more strategic coordination. It can build a foundation for success, and it can renew the continental vision. Again, nobody's saying that USMCA is perfect. Neither was NAFTA. But what happened with NAFTA? It got made into USMCA, and things went better, right? USMCA, again, it has to change. And again, as I just said, security has to come into so it can't be any more just a trade agreement. It has to be a framework for how North America works with regard to all of this. So 3 countries, 1 future, right? With enhanced security, with more technological integration, strategic industrial cooperation, and that just leads to shared prosperity. Again, if the 3 countries really work on taking advantage of this moment that they are currently on, they can progress to maybe grow that 30% of world GDP to 40%. Who knows? I mean, the possibilities are endless. as long as it's a joint effort between the three countries. Next. There's my data for anybody that needs to get in contact with me. I know there's still time for Q&A, and we'll open it up. Again, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Rick, for the invitation. Mari, thanks for all your IT support. You're a great IT person. Thank you for having me. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.